Okay, let's talk about a game that really caught me by surprise last year. It completely changed my perception of what a horror game could be and became the best horror game ever made.
Be careful, Sin. Don't speak in absolutes. You know how the internet hates that.
The subjective title of best horror game could go to at least a handful of games. Outlast, Alien Isolation, Hellblade, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, the list goes on. But I think another game deserves to be in this conversation, and I'd even say that this game reigns supreme: the Mortuary Assistant. In the Mortuary Assistant, you play as Rebecca, a newly hired mortician with a dark and troubled past.
Love you, Dad.
Little does she know, her job description is a bit more complicated than just embalming corpses. An evil presence awaits her that she will have to identify and banish from this world. Sounds like a pretty straightforward concept, right? Typical horror setting, simple enough premise, and who doesn't love a demon as an antagonist? Well, this is far more than a run-of-the-mill horror game. While most horror media tends to rely heavily on jump scares, too heavily in my opinion, this game takes a different path. With the Mortuary Assistant, the devil is in the details. The Mortuary Assistant's greatest strength is how it subverts expectations within the horror genre while still staying true to its roots. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, it perfects it. The game starts off by drowning you in monotony, giving you a full list of repeated sequential tasks to complete.
At least I can keep track of things.
It lulls you into autopilot while you work your normal shift. Then, things start happening. Now here's where it really gets interesting. The scariest moments in the game are not actually the loud, sudden, in-your-face jump scares. The scariest moments are atmospheric and environmental. A sound you hear in the distance. A whisper just behind you.
In here, Rebecca.
Something you see out of the corner of your eye, only for it to be gone when you double check. The way the game builds atmosphere and uses that atmosphere to make you question your own sanity is what makes it work. The sound design, visuals, and scripted yet random events immerse you in the heart of the madness. Now, don't get me wrong, jump scares are essential and a staple in horror. That feeling of fear has to be paid off somehow, and a well-timed jolt can remind you of the danger that is present. For something to be scary, our fear has to be validated for it to feel real. But for a jump scare to really work, it has to be earned. There are some great examples of this subtle tension building throughout the horror genre. Insidious's glimpse of the entity in the baby's room just before the red-faced demon appears. The possessed mother crawling across the ceiling in Hereditary. The constant ominousness throughout The Witch. These are all great examples of using subtlety to build tension, foreshadowing a more gut-wrenching scare, while being quietly terrifying in itself. The Mortuary Assistant does this too, but in a different way. The subtle, scary moments and jump scares don't always happen linearly. While the paranormal events are tied to a specific body and continue to build the longer the shift is, the events themselves happen randomly and constantly vary in their intensity. This non-linear way of building tension only further drives the ominousness of the entire game. Like the best horror media out there, the Mortuary Assistant makes the scares feel directly tied to you. The more you learn about Rebecca's backstory, the more you see the demon is using her past trauma to make her go mad. Connecting story and character to the scares helps to drive the story forward, forcing the main character to deal with their own demons, while also fighting an actual one. It makes the scary bits feel earned and intentional. It's not just about scaring you, it's about overcoming personal trauma. The events aren't just happening to you, they're happening in spite of you. Justifying the horror genre by directly connecting it to the characters rather than just the plot gives purpose to the story as a whole. Therefore, the scares, big and small, actually mean something. The Mortuary Assistant has the perfect blend of big and small scares while weaving together a rich, character-driven story. There's also a truckload of lore to be found in the game, although it can be a little convoluted and time-consuming to learn all of it. The game doesn't totally rely on big, loud, flashy jump scares, though they are important to both build and break the tension. The scares in the Mortuary Assistant go beyond getting your blood pumping. They feel personal and they have meaning. What the game does better than any other horror game out there is the subtler moments, slowly and steadily chipping away at your sanity. This balance of subtlety and well-timed jump scares, paired with the personal connection to the main character's story arc, makes the Mortuary Assistant the best horror game ever made.
I don't know. I mean, that's just your opinion or whatever.
What do you think? Does the Mortuary Assistant deserve such high praise? What do you think the best horror game ever made is? Drop a comment down below to let me know what you think the best horror game ever made is. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and check out my live stream over on Twitch. Let me know if there's another game or movie you'd be interested in me taking on next. In the meantime, be well, and I'll see you all soon.
Spicy!